Hello friends, this is Scott, and this was the thumbnail picture that I had on my last video when I took a little tour of the garden showing what I had accomplished as well as what I still need to do down here at the homestead. But yeah, feeding the cows and giving them some treats is getting to be hard, and because I don't have much left to give them, but had a couple pumpkins left, and I decided I better break these up or they're not even going to be able to eat these. So they're small little miniature pumpkins, and sometimes the cows come running, and other times they just take their sweet time. And so I was kind of curious of what they would think of pumpkins. I don't think they've seen pumpkins before, or at least eaten pumpkins. So yeah, they get into the pasture, our side, through the gate, and then they realize, oh, there's a little competition here. So then they decide, well, I better get there quick. So yeah, then they start to chase or start to run a little bit. So, but yeah, they ate them, and they weren't real fond of them. Pumpkins do have natural deworming properties with the seeds. I don't know how bad of a worm problem we have with cattle in this county, but yeah, it's good for them. So I know I'm feeding them something that is beneficial for them. And then we had a breakthrough. Again, I've been close to these cows, and from the beginning, getting to know them a little bit, and they'd come and sniff my hands and lick my hands a little bit. But today was the day we had a breakthrough with the bigger steer, and yeah, he figured out that scratches are good. So yeah, so we have a new thing to do. Don't know how long I'm going to know these cows before they head off to freezer camp, but I like them, and I want them to have a great life. You know, that's the hardest part about being on a homestead is the animals have a purpose, but you got to give them a good life while they're still here. So I decided I was going to get my fire pit ready. I was thinking of having a fire this evening. I never did really get around to it, but anytime I sit down and take a break, I just wanted to show you kind of what I got. I've got Coquette, and then there's Theo. And if you look, I've got Willow, and then I got Fang up on top of the wood. So yeah, they're there with me anytime I'm out and about. They're hanging out with me. But first thing I wanted to do was get my hard beans or my shell beans picked. And again, I planted these in an area that I just planted one pack of seeds, and it was a shady spot. But it did produce some beans I just wanted to show you. So I decided I'd get these picked. Now, not all of them ripened up nicely or dried nicely. There's some rotten ones that I'll show you here in a minute, but that's what they look like. And yeah, so I have a few to take in the house. And here's one I'm picking to show you that a lot of these did not dry out and they rotted. So all these plants, tops, went to the cows also. So they enjoyed a little bit of a bean treat. But yeah, there's what I picked, a huge harvest, but there's enough there to plant for next year, so I'm just going to save them and plant them next year. But they're pretty little beans. I wish I could remember the variety, but I don't. My wife actually got those in Europe when she was visiting a couple of years ago. So I've got a variety that I'm going to plant again, and then I'm going to get other varieties of beans, and I want to do a lot of shell beans. So we're going to try some pinto beans and some others, I think. Well, after we got that done, we're here at the big pile of wood chips, the 20 cubic yards or so that I got, and this is what we had left to start with. And down here, we never know when the weather's going to totally turn to snow, so I was waiting for leaves to hopefully mulch some of the garden, but don't have leaves yet. They haven't fallen off the trees enough, so I went ahead and used some wood chips to mulch in the garlic, and I didn't do it very deep, so if I do get a hold of some leaves, if I have any extras, I'll re-mulch the garlic with those leaves so they can easily, garlic will push through most everything. I don't like to use wood chips anywhere that I'm going to actually plant seeds or have small plants because it's hard for them to push up through this type of material. If I do cover the soil with it, I'll just remove it before I plant. Have a little bit of kale left and still feeling bad for the cows, so I decided to pull one of my two plants because I don't need that much. And I didn't do any kale. I was going to do kale powder. I did a little bit of kale chips this year, but I just didn't kind of get around to it. I used kale as my lettuce for my BLTs, and it was good in that. So, but I haven't used a bunch of my kale. I've given each plant a little bit to the cows, and again, they're not quite with me right at the moment, but they'll find that. As I was walking down to give them the kale, I kind of tracked through the mud again and realized maybe that's a good idea to put some wood chips down there, as I'm Thang and Theo or Thing and Coquette, or lead me up the path. They might be mother-daughter, I'm thinking. I think that's what the previous owner told me. But anyway, put some wood chips down, and that makes it a lot less of a mess to walk up through that pathway. Then I decided I wanted to start mulching in the south side of the yard, which my whole goal of this part of the garden, and this is where the beans were, the hard beans, is I don't want to mow on this side of the yard at all. This was the side where the old greenhouse was. And it was really shady, but I have pruned a lot of the trees, so there's going to be a lot more sun next year. Still have a little more to do, but I decided I want to just mulch everything that I can with the wood chips. I'm not sure if I have enough to do everything, but I dug out a few weeds, and I'm not going to worry too much about borders or anything like that. I just want to cover the soil, and then I'll worry about pulling wood chips back when I plant stuff next year and make pathways and things. But yeah, there's the green beans, and they're all dead now. And so there was another treat that I was able to give the cows. I didn't film it, but yeah, they enjoyed the dried out beans. And that's where the corn was, and got those cleaned up a little bit. I didn't do a ton of weeding. I was kind of burned out of that, and I wasn't feeling very well. So if I could get a couple hours of moving wood chips in a day on a couple of these days when I wasn't feeling well, that was a win-win. So take a look at the strawberries. I was hoping for some leaves to mulch those in a little bit better. I just got grass clippings there, but I don't have them, so I just went ahead and used wood chips. So I didn't do a very deep layer, so let's hope it works. But as you see, this is just going to be a big brown mass of wood chips, the whole yard, and I'm okay with that. Again, in the spring, depending upon what I plant here in these different beds, I will pull the wood chips into the pathways and use them more for the pathways, and then open up the soil for the plantings, and then pull a little bit back for mulch once the soil warms up, because you don't want a bunch of mulch on your soil in the spring, because the soil needs to warm up for the plants to grow and the seeds to grow. So again, it's great to cover the ground, to suppress weeds, retain moisture, and provide fertility over time. And in this case, we also provide a little bit of insulation for the plants that are already in the ground, like the strawberries. So yeah, wood chips are awesome. It's the back to Eden kind of gardening method, and I'm a firm believer that that's a beneficial way to garden. But it does take a little bit of work, and again, I am a little selective generally on where I put wood chips. If I'm going to be planting more, seeds and things like that, I generally don't like to use wood chips because they, things aren't going to grow through them. That's the whole purpose of them. So you got to remove them if you're going to plant those type of plants in these areas. But yeah, scanning back around, I've got a little bit of areas I still have to finish, but I will definitely be a no-mow area on this side of the house, which was my whole goal in the first place. If you go back to my early videos, this was the most ugly area of the yard, and now it's not beautiful, but it's definitely much better shape. After doing that much work, I had that many wood chips left, and it was time to start working on this neglected berry area here. And to recap, I have honeyberries, I have a currant or two, and I have a bunch of raspberries. They're the bigger plants in the middle, and then I have 2 goji berries on the side. So I didn't prune them back last year, and so I didn't get many berries. I did get my first honeyberries, which was exciting, but I decided to do a little bit of weeding. I wasn't super excited about weeding now, but I got it cleaned up a little bit. I don't have any cardboard, so I would like to put a little cardboard down to suppress some of the weeds, but I didn't have it, so I just 4 to 6 inches of the wood chips. So yeah, it looks a lot better. I'm excited about my new raspberry patch on the side of the house that I planted this year, or late last year, early this year, because these have been in the ground a couple of years, and they've done well. They've established themselves. So I should have pretty good raspberries. So now I'm down to this. I have this much wood chips from that big double truck dump, and that's all I have left. And so I'm hoping for leaves, and I haven't had them yet. So I'm going back to Salt Lake, and I'm hoping to get some. And there's Theo. And this is what I got left. And again, this whole area, this part of the garden, I would love to just mulch with leaves, and then just have some wood chips around the edges, or by the tree. But we'll see. Again, I don't have a lot left, and I do have this area down here where my old compost bin was, and I want to mulch that in really good, because I think the soil is going to be pretty healthy there and pretty fertile, and wood chips will help make that a good growing area as willow shows up. So anyway, we're getting closer to being done, but I have a little bit left, and I'm hoping to get some leaves here in the near future, and I'll show you my final progress before it's time to hibernate for the winter. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. I could really use your help. Thank you.